Welcome back from that background report on the dangers of human trafficking. As we all know, every 30th of July happens to be the World Human Trafficking, and we have somebody in the studio with me that is going to shed more light on the dangers of it, and she has been doing a lot of work on that. And you know, it's a global thing that is affecting all genders, and what we're doing is we're trying to stop it and see how our people will understand the dangers of, you know, human trafficking in Nigeria and every other places. We have Dame Julie Oka Donley, OON, former DG, NAPTIP, and also the chairperson of Roost Foundation. You're welcome to the studio, ma.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. And then you're doing a very good job with this project. And you know, it's not just about talking about it, it's how we can stop it that is important. And a lot of people don't really know what it is. When we say human trafficking, what are we talking about?
There are different forms of human trafficking. The most common one is for the forced prostitution,
Okay.
and organ harvesting. There's been very many cases now of human trafficking for the purpose of organ harvesting, where the organs of victims are stolen and sold in the black market for the purpose of transplants. Prostitution, I think, still remains the number one, where young victims are lured away from various parts of the country and taken outside their states or outside their countries for the purpose of forced prostitution as well.
Okay, so you said forced prostitution, but the initial stage is they are not being forced to go out.
Yes,
they're being lured with money.
Yeah, they are lured to go out under the guise of getting good jobs.
Okay,
and the moment they get to wherever the destination country is, or destination states, as the case may be, when we're talking of internal trafficking, then of course they are forced into doing what they didn't bargain to do, which is usually prostitution, organ harvesting, pornography, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so we have so many different tribes. For our viewers out there, we would love to know the other forms that are there apart from the prostitution, which is the key, the number one key. So, and then you mentioned
organ harvesting.
Yes. Are there other ones?
Pornography.
Okay.
Young children are used for pornography to sell in the black market. To sell online. You know, there's a lot of fake marriages, online marriages, fake scholarship opportunities, fake job opportunities online as well. So there's so many tricks that these traffickers have, come up with to lure their unsuspecting victims. It's also very common to have fake job vacancies online, and then people apply, and then the moment you get into their net, it's something else. So they are very different methods. Yeah,
one has to be very careful.
Absolutely.
So, what informed the theme for this year's human trafficking team?
Well, I think this year's human trafficking themes practically asking all of us to leave no one behind. Leave no one behind in the sense that everyone must hear about human trafficking.
Okay.
We must make noise about it. You cannot be quiet about it and say we don't make noise. You must make noise about it. If you're the agency like NAPTIP, who is expected to drive this project of stopping human trafficking, you must make noise. You must make noise in the ears of everyone. You must be in the faces of everyone. Now, don't get me wrong, NAPTIP cannot do it alone.
Yes.
Every one of us have a role to play, including you, and this is what we are doing now.
Yes.
Raising awareness
to everybody.
Sensitization, education is key in the fight against human trafficking. The CSOs are there. The law enforcement agencies are there. We all have our roles to play. The state government, the local government, the councillors, everyone has a role to play.
Involved.
Leave no one behind. Victims of trafficking all over the world must be identified, they must be rescued, and they must be rehabilitated.
What about stigmatization? You know, a lot of people wouldn't want to come out and show their faces to the world.
Education has made a lot of victims not to worry about stigmatization anymore. They come out to report cases of rape, human trafficking, and so on and so forth. It was very difficult back in the days to get girls who are raped to come to talk about it and say, I was raped by my father, or I was raped by my uncle, or I was raped by 10 men. But because of education, they know the importance of speaking out and getting justice for themselves, whilst putting the culprits behind bars. Okay. So people are no longer stigmatizing victims because of education. They've been educating people about the dangers of stigmatization.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for me, I feel even though we're doing all this awareness everywhere, you're doing your own part, I'm doing my own part, everybody is doing his own part. But then the people back at home, you know, how do you get to them? Because they still take their kids out. They still give their children out. And I don't think a lot of this awareness reaches their side. How do you do it?
You see, that's why I said awareness is the job of everyone. Because whether you like it or not, the federal government cannot get to every community.
Yeah.
So the community leaders, most of them should be able to advise their children. Most of them know what is going on.
They do.
They should be able to advise their children. They should be able to advise the women. And this is where the local governments too have a role to play. The community leaders have a role, the faith-based organizations. I know that while I was in NAPTIP, we set up state task forces in almost all the states. I want to believe that the new DGs that came after me have completed the rest of the states. The idea was to make sure that these states partner with the federal government, you know, to make it easier. You need to come together, synergize, cooperate, and spread out, unlike waiting for the federal government to do everything
for you.
And then the state government will now inaugurate the local government task forces. And then the idea was for it to go down. We were able to do the one for Agege local government some time ago. So we now expect the states to now inaugurate the local government task forces, so it can spread down. So when we have local government task forces, they will be the one carrying out this sensitization and awareness to all of these communities that the federal government cannot get to. So yeah.
Well, I believe we'll get there one day.
I pray so.
Yeah, and then how do we now prevent everything, you know, bringing these girls together? And then how do we stop these people that are doing those things?
Education is very key.
You know, they're listening to us right now. And then they'll have their own ways of, you know, okay, they are now out here saying it, telling the people how to stop it. So how do we now prevent them?
Education is very key. If we are able to enforce compulsory education, free and compulsory education at the basic level, our children will be engaged. So when these traffickers go hunting, they will find out that the children are in school. But when these kids are not in school, and they have to be hawking water, hawking all sorts of food stuff and all of that on the streets, it's very easy to convince their parents to give them up. But when they go to school, the children want to go to school. Children love school. They remember their peers, they remember their friends. They will not want to leave the community because they are engaged. Then of course we need to engage their mothers. Skill acquisition programs, soft loans, soft grants, to, you know, make them, you know, to have a sustainable lifestyle. All these little things are key to preventing human trafficking, besides raising awareness, sensitization, and all of that. Whilst raising awareness, you must be able to make the children go to school, give something to their parents to be able to sustain their lifestyle, to be able to feed their children. Because if you cannot feed your children, and your children are not going to school, it will be very difficult to come and preach and say, human trafficking is bad, do not give up your children. It will be an exercise in futility. and the traffickers will continue to operate with impunity.
Well, before I let you go, a last word to people out there, your last word in a form of advice.
Well, I'd like to tell Nigerians that when something appears to be too good to be true, then of course it's too good to be true. You have a lot of adverts where you are told you're going to be paid 500,000 naira to be a driver somewhere out of your country. You're going to be given scholarships, you're going to be given good jobs for ridiculous salaries, free tickets, and so on and so forth. You have to just take a sit back to investigate, because most times it is absolutely false. And these human traffickers have different ways, to lure their victims out. And once you're there, it becomes very difficult. Most importantly, I would like to say, if you see something, don't just say something, but do something. Human trafficking is real. Stop human trafficking now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. I think the information has been passed to everybody. And then when we see something, we don't just say something, we do something about it. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And we would love to have you back.
My pleasure, any day.
Thank you. Well, we've been speaking to the Julie Okadonli, the former DG NAPTIP and the chairperson Roost Foundation, and she says, when you see something, don't just say something, do something, because human trafficking, it's real and it's happening everywhere. It's not just about me and her doing our own job here. You can do it in your own way. We're going to short break. We'll be right back.